Rusame reader, Rusame, and today I will be reading to you from Beneath the Surface by Unnamed Untold. Before we get into the chapter, let's go through the warnings again. Depression, suicidal thoughts, suicide attempt, anorexia, bulimia, and vulgar language. Now, on to Chapter 5, Day 7. It was the early hours of the morning, just after sunrise, and I was outside. I hummed happily to myself as I picked the last of the apples from the tree. There weren't many, but definitely enough for an apple pie. I found out last night after I came home that a fair was being held today in the town's large park. It was a pie contest. I planned on entering mine, just like I used to, more than 50 years ago. I always won, and I wonder if I still have the touch to create an awesome pie. I brought the basket inside and immediately started to look through the apples to pick out the best ones. They were large, sweet, red apples, most with little to no bruising. One had a worm inside of it, so I placed it in the garden. I had a total of 12 good apples, 6 which I was going to use for the pie. I peeled, cored, and sliced the apples. Then I melted the butter and added the chopped apples into it. In another bowl, I mixed together all the needed spices, salt, and 3/4 a cup of sugar. I sprinkled the mix over the apples and reduced the heat. I cooked them until the apples softened, but they weren't baby food mushy. I sprinkled cornstarch and flour over them and continued to cook them. After about 4 minutes, I removed the pan from the heat and added cider vinegar, while heaving at the strong smell. I scraped the fruit into a bowl to allow the mix to cool. While I let it cool, I made the pie dough. When I had it all prepared, I took a chunk and put it on a lightly floured wooden cutting board. I rolled it out until it was about 12 inches around. I fit the dough into a 9-inch pan and cut off the excess, save half an inch. I took the pan and placed it in the freezer. Then I rolled out the remaining dough into a circle, which came out to be about 10 inches. As I waited for the crust to freeze, I cleaned up my mess and turned to throw away dirty paper towels and nearly jumped out of my skin when I saw Ivan leaning against the wall. I held my hand over my heart, eyes wide, while he chuckled. I then glared at the larger man. "Jesus Christ, Vanya, are you trying to give me a heart attack? How long have you been there?" I asked when I calmed down. "My apologies, Frederica. I did not mean to startle you. I just wanted to watch you," he said apologetically. "Why, you creep?" I asked, a little creeped out. "Sorry, you just looked so peaceful. Completely at ease. It was a look I have not seen on you in a very long time. I didn't want to make it go away," he told me apologetically. "Oh, well, yeah, when you're a world superpower, you don't exactly get a chance to relax. I'm always doing something or another," I told him tiredly. "This is the first time in many years that I've been on a vacation type of thing, or have a break from visiting others. I know this is still work, but we are told to have fun, and I don't have to visit any of the other nations, which is nice." That is not good. You are so young, you need chances to relax, or else the stress could really hurt you, both physically and mentally," he said, worried. I waved him off. "I'm fine, you know me. Been working way more than I should since I was young." "Da, and you do not remember how often you got sick from all the stress?" He crossed his arms and glared. "I was a child. I'm grown now, and I can handle the stress much better," I argued, and I knew it wasn't completely true. He seemed to sense it wasn't true either, but dropped the subject. "What are you making?" he asked as he looked in the bowl. "Is this the filling for one of your apple pies?" Yeah, there's a fair in town today, and they're having a pie contest that anyone can enter. I want to see if I can still win that contest. I grinned. If your pie is anything like how I remember, then you will win easily, he said sincerely with a fond smile. I used to feed him pies every time he would come over and visit when I was younger. Thanks, Bud, I said shyly. I wasn't used to such friendly behavior from him anymore, or really anyone, but to see it again was nice. I was going to wake you later to see if you wanted to go with me. I have an extra harness here, so you can take Lampushka with us. I'm taking Hero. She loves going to fairs and getting some grilled steak and funnel cake. Thank you. I think going to the fair will be fun. And I'm sure Lampushka would like to get out of the house too, he said as I pulled the pie pan out of the freezer. Great, Hero really likes him. So this will be kind of like a little play date for them. I filled the pan with the cooled filling. Then I cover it with the flan dough. And I pressed the edges together, trimmed the excess, and then crimped the edges with a small fork. Hero also likes my pies, so I'm going to need your help to make sure she doesn't eat it. Has she done so before? He asked, as I cut the steam vents onto the top of the crust. Yeah, made it all the way to the fair before I realized that she had eaten the entire 12-inch pie. It was not as bad as what came next. I told him as I brushed the top of the pie with an egg wash and sprinkled it with sugar. She then proceeded to throw up the entire pie on the backseat floor. I had to take my car to be cleaned and take her to the vet. She's fine, obviously. Why was she not in the carrier? He asked. She was, though. She somehow got the lock undone without me knowing. I laughed as I put the pie in the oven. I took out extra dough and started to roll it into a little ball. What are you doing now? Just a little thing I do to not waste any dough or filling, I said as I started to hollow out the ball. I then filled the hollow ball with the extra filling and closed it up. I brushed it all around with an egg wash and coated it with a thick layer of sugar. I put it on a small cookie sheet and put it in the oven under the pie. It's like a little pie you keep in your hands. I usually split it with Hero. You'll spoil your cat, he said with a smile. Yeah, she's a spoiled kitty cat, I agreed as I pulled down a couple of small plates. I jumped a little when Ivan showed up next to me with a can of tuna. You are determined to give me a heart attack this morning, aren't you? Niet, you are jumpy this morning. Are you okay? He asked as he started to open the can. The sound of an opening can dragged the cats out from where they were. Hero didn't sleep with me last night, which was unusual for her. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just jumpy sometimes. I waved him off. Truth was, my anxiety was high this morning, and I have no idea why. Everyone has their bad days, you know? Duh, he said, not really convinced. I could tell he wanted to continue the subject. He instead started to make breakfast. I put the cat food down by the water bowl, like I did every morning since we got here. Weird part was Lampushka didn't immediately go after his. Instead, he sat by it. I watched as Hero ate all of her food, then go after Lampushka's. And all Lampushka did was purr like a motorcycle, like he was happy she was eating his food. When she was finished with his, she then went after the dry food. What the fuck? You just ate a whole can of tuna, and you're still hungry, I said, amazed as she chowed down. I shook my head and pulled the mini apple pie out of the oven. I looked at the big one to see that it was just about done as well. I put the mini pie on the windowsill to cool. I looked down to see that Hero had finished half the bowl before she pulled back. It was then that Lampushka started to eat. There is something up with the cats, I told Ivan. I saw. Maybe Lampushka is just trying to be gentleman, he suggested. Hmm. I hummed as his cat started winking my cat clean. They do seem very friendly. It's just that Hero doesn't normally eat this much. She'll eat her half of a can of tuna, then nibble on her dry food for the rest of the day. She might just be a little extra hungry this morning. Perhaps she did not eat last night? Yeah, maybe, I said as I pulled the pie out of the oven. I set it down on the cooling rack, and Hero was immediately on it. Oh, no, you don't, I told her as I pulled her off the counter. She cried out. I have a small one right here for you, I told her. I grabbed the cool down small pie and dropped it in her bowl. She wiggled out of my arms to go after her rare, tasty treat. In a few quick gulps, she devoured most of it. She shaved just enough for Lampushka to have a few tasty bites. She was already back at my feet begging for more. No. No, I argued with her. She flopped on her side for a more dramatic effect. Good Lord, every time I make a pie, you have to act like you haven't been fed in days. I heard Ivan chuckle and turned to see he was done with breakfast. A normal Russian breakfast of sausage on rye bread with butter. A long time ago, I thought their morning meal was weird. Now I understood that they needed a really solid meal for breakfast because of the winters. Over time, I came to enjoy the simple breakfast and even ate it on occasion. Ivan, on the other hand, was surprised to see the supplies for commie food and not just this meal. Come and eat, Fredrika. The cat will not harm the pie while we are in here, he said as he placed my plate down. I don't know. If she's determined enough, she will get it. I smiled. I sat down and enjoyed the meal with him. I only ate a small amount, blaming it on an upset stomach. I wouldn't have time to throw up the fattening food this morning when I have to keep an eye on Hero and find the extra cat harness. He stared at me for a minute, which started to make me uncomfortable, and I started to squirm. I wonder if he was catching on. When we got done, I cleaned up the kitchen and moved the pie to the center of the table so I could keep a better eye on it. I walked to the small closet that was just to the left of the front door coming in. I pulled down a small, dusty box. About 5 years ago, I visited this place for a weekend because of some stupid meeting. I had forgotten Hero's harness at home and had to buy a new one at the pet store here. I kept this one here in case I forgot to bring hers again. It's a black harness that could adjust to the cat's size, so I know it will fit Ivan's fluffy cat. I turned back to the kitchen just in time to see Hero on the table. Hey, off the table! You know better! She scrambled off pretty fast and raced into the living room with Lampushka right on her tail. I huffed in amusement and put the box back up on the shelf. Ivan came down the stairs from where he was changing in his room when he heard me yelling. Is everything all right? He asked. Yeah, cat almost got my pie again. Do you mind keeping an eye on it while I change? I asked. Why not put it in the fridge? He asked. You don't just put a pie in the fridge. It ruins the taste and puts a weird, gross film on the top. The best way to cool pie is the old-fashioned way. I stomped my foot like a 2-year-old. Why not put it in a cake carrier, then? Don't have one here. I wasn't expecting a fair to be going on in fall. That's normally something reserved for summer, I told him. Okay, I will watch the pie. He smiled. Thanks, bud, I said and ran up the stairs. The clothes I was wearing now were covered in dried leaves, twigs, flour, sugar, and other baking ingredients. I changed into a dark blue t-shirt and dark jeans. This was if I spill food or drink on my clothes, then it won't show as easy. The dark colors will also help keep me warm. The weather might be unseasonably warm, but I know the weather can change quickly in this part of my country. I snorted as I remembered something a citizen of North Indiana said once when I was talking to them at a cafe. Welcome to Northwest Indiana, where the weather can change in an instant, and seasons are optional. They're not wrong. When I exited the room, I heard a loud commotion from the kitchen. I walked downstairs and headed to the kitchen. I nearly fell on the floor when I busted out laughing at the sight before me. Hero was trying to climb up Ivan's leg and get the pie that he held above his head. Meanwhile, Lampushka meowed loudly at Hero from where he stood on the floor. Not sat, but stood on his hind legs. Ivan was yelling at the poor cat in Russian. Frederica, help! Your cat is determined to get the pie at any cost. She is possessed by demon, he said when he caught sight of me. I tried to get my laughing under control as I pulled the cat off of the Russian. I could hear his sweater tear in small places as her claws refused to let go. It almost sounded like ripping a piece of cardboard in half. I took the wiggling cat into the living room where her harness was. With some difficulty, I put the red, white, and blue-colored harness on her. I then tied one end to the coffee table to stop her from going after the pie again. She meowed and yowled pitifully as she struggled against the restraint. After a moment, she gave up and flopped down on the floor. Lampushka was right on her, giving her comforting licks and head rubs. Your cat is crazy, Ivan said when he came into the living room. Yeah, she can be a little bit of a problem sometimes. Love her all the same, though. I smiled as I pet the moody feline. I looked at the clock to see it was already 10:30. Crap, we need to get going if we want to make it in time for the pie contest. In 10 minutes, we were rushing out of the house. Hero was in a carrier, preventing her from getting at the pie. She didn't like it, and she made sure we knew. It took us an hour to get there and another 10 minutes to the park. By the time we were at the fair, we were rushing. Luckily, I was able to make it to the sign-ups in the nick of time. Please place your pie at the end of the table here, and here's your number. Good luck at winning, the young teen said as he handed me a yellow card with the number 12 on it. I placed the pie on the table and walked around to the other side to stand next to the other contestant. From up here, I had a good view of the crowd and was easily able to pick out Ivan. Not that hard, since he is the size of a bear. In his arms, he had his cat and barely held my cat. I gave a little wave and a small smile, which he returned. Just then, the 3 judges announced that they will be starting the contest. As they walked down the line, I started to get a little nervous. It's been a while since I last made a pie, and I wondered if I messed up somewhere. What if the dough was undercooked? What if the crust was too sweet? Or what if the filling was too mushy? I was slowly starting to freak out and breathe quickly, nearly passing out. When I saw Ivan trying to get my attention, I looked at him to see him motioning for me to breathe deeply. I did so and started to calm down. After a few minutes of this, I calmed down enough to not faint. I gave him a small smile and thanks and paid attention to the judging. While I was freaking out, they had made it to the person next to me. Ah, Mr. Peterson. Good to see you here again. I hope your pie is as good as always, the judge greeted warmly. He was a fat man and had a warm, welcoming air about him. As always, I don't know why the others keep entering their pies. I am undefeated, and I have been for 12 years now, he said smugly. Now, Tom, the contest isn't over yet, another judge said. This one was a young girl with strawberry blonde hair and bright green eyes. We still have this young man's pie to taste. What's your name, son? The third judge spoke. He was far older than the other 2, but he still looked like he could show a younger a thing or two when it came to a fight. Alfred F. Jones, sir. I told him with a bright smile. Now here's a young man with some manners. He patted my shoulder firmly, almost knocking me down. Now, let's take a bite out of this scrumptious-looking thing, shall we? They all took a piece and bit down together. For a moment, no one did anything, and I started to fidget slightly. The older man gently put his plate down and grabbed me by the shoulder with both hands. He looked me in the eyes with a kind of seriousness I haven't seen in years. Son, I haven't tasted a pie this good since my Nana died in 1981, he said with a bright smile. I cracked a big grin as I started to receive praise from the other two judges as well. You guys are always welcome to have more if you want. Sure would love to, but it looks like that cat does not want to share, the female judge said with a laugh as she pointed down at the pie. I looked down to see Hero with her face shoved into the pie, eating away as if she had never eaten in her life. Hero, the pie isn't for you, I yelled at her. She yelled loudly. She told you. The same judge laughed. The rest of the people present laughed as well, except for Tom, who looked rather angry. I swear I feed her, I told them weakly. I bet you do, but I also don't doubt that that cat knows good food when she tastes it, the older one said with a smile. And I know good food when I taste it too. So I think we all know who the winner is. The other two nodded with bright smiles. The old man turned to the big crowd that had gathered. I looked at Ivan to see he had a harness with no cat in it. I looked at him with a raised brow, and he shrugged his shoulders. Ladies and gentlemen, I proudly announce this year's 23rd annual pie contest winner, Alfred Jones. The younger male shouted as the girl put a blue ribbon on Hero, who had moved her whole body into the pie pan. Even the categories, this is the best pie in years. How do you feel, Alfred? The lady asked. At least I don't have to worry about the pie going bad in the car now. I rubbed the back of my neck. Everyone laughed, and the crowd soon dispersed. Ivan hopped up on the stage with Hero's harness in hand. I picked up the content cat out of the pan and placed her neck to Lampushka. He started to help clean the pie filling off of her fur where it had stuck to everything. How in the world did she get out? I have never had her get out before, I asked him as I examined the harness. I looked at the clip to see faint teeth marks on it. Dude, look at this. I think your cat helped mine escape. She can't reach this clip, and these marks are clearly that of a cat's. He looked closer at it and nodded his head in agreement. I thought he was just grooming her. Well, now I know better. Come on, let's walk around for a little bit. We can't do much with the cats here, but we can get some good food, I told him, and slipped the pan in the bag that I had brought with us. Duh. We walked around for a while, mostly checking out stalls and food trucks. I got Hero her funnel cake after she bit the tire of one of the food trucks and refused to let go. I also grabbed a late lunch for Ivan and I. It was a couple of barbecue chicken wings and some fries as a side. Next to us, the cats munched on their own plate of grilled steak. Both seemed to enjoy the treat greatly. Hero more than Lampushka, since she, once again, ate way more than him. This place is fun, Ivan said after we sat in silence for a minute. Yeah, it's even better when you can go on the rides and not have to keep an eye out for the cats, I told him. Then we should come back here tomorrow, he said. Wait, really? You want to come back? I asked him excitedly. Duh, I would like to go on some of the rides. They seem fun, duh? He told me. Yeah, they're all fun. Some spin in a circle really fast, some go up in the air, and some do both. And I think I even saw a small roller coaster here as well. Ooh, we should come after dark. The lights are really pretty then. I bounced in my seat. I suddenly stopped and looked down. I'm sorry, I was getting annoying again, wasn't I? Нет, you are cute when you are excited like this. Why would you think you are annoying? He asked me. I blushed a little when he called me cute. Well, you and me always get annoyed when I get like this. I thought I was annoying you now. I brushed some hair out of my eyes. He looked really guilty when I said that. I do not find it annoying. It is just not common amongst the nations of the old world to be as full of life as you are. We are old and have seen many hardships. It is easy to forget that you are much younger than us, and I think we get jealous because of how bright and sunny you always are. I smiled sadly at his little speech. What makes you think I haven't gone through hardships? Just because I am young? Let me tell you something, Ivan. Sometimes a child will go through more shit than most people who live their entire lives. Age doesn't matter, I said darkly. What have you been through? He asked, face blank. I turned my head and didn't answer. I watched my people walk around the fair, enjoying the sights and sounds. The kids ran from ride to ride in an attempt to do them all, with the parents not too far behind. Young couples on a date walk between booths. Older couples hold hands as they remember times of the past. It was all fun and full of light here. But I see something much darker that had taken place on these very grounds. Something much more sinister and evil. Where screams of laughter now ring out were where screams of horror sounded for days. Spilt drinks land where spilt blood once stained the ground. Bright lights shined where a blood red had once glowed. There is a reason why all of my houses are where they are, and it's not the pretty reasons I always give to why. I told him at last. You'd be surprised by the horrors that lie behind a pretty front, even with land. But enough about that. I want to hit the farmer's market while we're still here. You can buy a couple of pounds of fruit real cheap, and now I'm in the mood for more baking. The atmosphere changed back to light as quickly as it had changed to dark. I stood up and grabbed the leashes of the cats. Ivan walked around to my side of the table, a worried look on his face, and I led them away. At the front of the fair is where the market is at. There is more than just food, though. Some people sell live animals, such as ducks and chickens, while others sell trinkets, like small carvings and jewelry. I enjoy walking around these parts, and I could tell Ivan liked looking at everything around as well, if the small smile on his face was anything to go by. A couple of kids rushed by him, bumping into him before scampering off in fright. I giggled slightly as I turned away. That's when something shiny caught my eye. It was a small metal sunflower pendant. The middle was made from copper, while the petals looked to be brass. It came on a gold chain that was big enough to slip around your head. Next to it was a much smaller one that was supposed to be a bracelet that can be wrapped around your arm a few times. Those are some pretty pendants, miss. How much are they? I asked the lady behind the booth. I recognized her as our waitress from the diner. $12 for the big one and $6 for the small, she told me as I looked over. Hey, ain't you the feller that beat Tom in the pie contest? Yes, ma'am, that was me, I told her as I pulled the money out for the charms. Any feller who knocks that arrogant jackrabbit down a few places deserves a deal. I'll tell you what, I'll give you 50% off on these pieces of jewelry, she told me with a broad smile. No, you don't have to, ma'am, I told her sheepishly. Any feller who puts old Tom in his place deserves a discount. And call me Rose, okay, sugar? She winked. I handed her the money with a bright smile. You got it, Rose. Have a nice day. You too, sugar. She waved me off. As I was walking back to where Ivan was, I took the bracelet and looped it over Lampushka's head. The flower hung nicely against the part of his white fur, making it more noticeable. When Ivan turned around from looking at a stall, I hoisted Lampushka up so he could see him. He looked at his cat in surprise and then at me. "Your cat got some new bling," I giggled. "I can see that, Rosika. Did you get him this?" he asked with a smile as he held the small pendant in his hand. I put the cat down next to Hero, who looks dejected. Poor jealous baby. "Yipperdoodles. I also got a matching one for you as well." I held out the necklace for him. "You didn't have to," he said shyly. "I know, but I wanted to," I told him, and I got a flashback to many years ago when the position was reversed. I was standing inside the cabin, waiting for my friend to show up. I heard a knock on the door and fussed it open. Standing on the other side was my friend. "Vanya, you're here! You're here!" I shouted as he walked in. He shook the rain off of his head, splashing me as a result. I giggled as the droplets hit me. "I am here with the one. How are you today?" "I'm fine. I snared 3 rabbits today and canned the last vegetables from the garden. I'm all set for winter now." "Good. I am glad you will have an easier winter this year." "Thanks. So, how was the meeting with my boss?" "I think it went well. It was very long, though." He sat down in a rocking chair that I had built just for him. "Yeah, some of them sure do sound like their own voices." I smiled. I noticed a small package in his hands. "Hey, what's that?" "Oh, this is a gift for you," he said, standing back up. I stood up and walked to him. I was still just a kid, so I came up to his waist. "You got a gift for me?" I asked as I took the brown package. It was tied with a piece of string that made a cute little bow. "Da, now open it." He smiled at me. I grinned and carefully undid the wrapping. Sitting in the paper was a necklace, a small silver one with a snowflake made from silver, a tiny sapphire in the center. It was the one I was admiring yesterday when we went into town. He noticed and got it for me. My eyes teared up, and I lunged at him for a hug. "Thank you so much, Vanya." I squeezed him. He hugged back just as tightly. "You're welcome, Fredrika. Here, let me put it on for you." As I felt the slight weight of the pendant pull on my neck, I got a little shy. "You know, you didn't have to." "No, but I wanted to." I came out of the flashback as he put the piece of jewelry on. It came down enough to stay on top of his scarf, but still short enough to be tucked under his shirt if needed. I smiled brightly at him and grabbed his hand to pull him away. "Come on, Vanya, the fruits should be over here." And that is the end of this chapter. I hope you enjoyed. Anyway, I'd like to invite you to join the Discord, which is linked down in the description below. That being said, I hope you have a nice rest of your day, night, or whatever it is for you. Just enjoy your time, and I will see you tomorrow.